So today I'm going to be talking about seborrheic dermatitis, what I use for it, and how it has changed the course of my Loc quest. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the Atreyu Locs channel. Hi, I'm Atreyu, a Semi Freeformer who is dedicated to bringing you the best tips to grow a healthy set of locks. If this is your first time, make yourself comfortable. I am glad to have you. The seborrheic dermatitis has not really let up, people, and I was thinking about it. It's been a while since I've kind of spoken about it. I've just been suffering in silence, but I say no more. Today I'm going to be talking about seborrheic dermatitis again because it needs to be spoken about, and I feel like there are probably several other of you out there who are also suffering, but you think you just have basic itchy scalp. So first, let's talk about how it has changed the course of my Loc quest, and a little bit later I will discuss what I use. So let me just say, before I was diagnosed with seborrheic dermatitis at the end of last year, I could pretty much do whatever I wanted to within reason to my locks. I didn't have to worry about not using oils. My scalp tolerated oils really well. It didn't get itchy. In fact, my scalp really didn't even itch all that much after that first year and a half. So I was lucky in that way. Now obviously when I say I pretty much had free reign with my locks, I am not talking about doing crazy stuff to it like using bleach. Of course, it doesn't matter who you are, using bleach is going to break down the structural integrity of your locks, and eventually, one day, maybe in the far distant future, lead to breakage. So I was always informed enough, and I was always someone who had enough foresight to know that that was a real possibility, so I never went down that path. So yeah, whether it was castor oil or sweet almond oil or vitamin E oil, I could use it without any problem. However, once I developed seborrheic dermatitis, and I still don't know what has caused it, I have an idea of what is perpetuating it, that being stress, but I never figured out what caused it, and even scientists don't really know the answer to that question. But as I was saying, it really changed the course of my Loc quest because now I have to be mindful of pretty much any and everything that I put in my locks. It's not that I used a lot of products before, thankfully. I mean, I didn't really use any products. You guys know that if you've been rocking with me for a while. So yeah, it just limited my options. But thankfully, I kind of have always taken, well, not always, but mostly always a minimalistic approach when it comes to my locks, especially once I made the decision to Semi Freeform. So I would say it had the minimal impact possible for me in my specific case, thankfully. But at the same time, I don't like having limitations placed on what I can and cannot do to my locks, especially when it comes to like moisturizing them. I've learned now from experience that you don't have to have oils, or at least I don't have to have oils, and I don't need to replenish my locks continually for them to thrive. And I kind of have always known that, which is why I didn't do a lot of oiling super often anyway. But yeah, that's something that I learned once I developed seborrheic dermatitis, that like your locks, at least my locks, once again, let me speak for myself and from my own experience, my locks and my scalp and the sebum that's coming out of my scalp is pretty much good enough to, moisturize the hair nearest my scalp. Hey, if you are enjoying this video, don't forget to smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you are notified every single time I upload. How about that? Now, if you're talking about at the very tips, that's a different story, and that does need moisture at some point, right? Because it's just so far away from your scalp that it's not realistic to think that that sebum is gonna go all the way down and hit up these ends. But remember, moisture is not oil. Oil is used to seal in moisture. So even if you're just washing your locks, that's a way to get some moisture into them. So you don't need to necessarily revert to oil usage just to moisturize your locks, because it would never do that anyway, if you're following me. So that's how seborrheic dermatitis has changed the course of my lock journey. It has placed limitations on me, which I'm not a fan of, but I'm rolling with it. I decided to keep my locks, to not cut them, and to try to just power through it, tough it out, and so that's one of the consequences or repercussions of that decision. And so far, I'm okay with it. Now moving on to the things that I use for my seborrheic dermatitis. The first thing that I use is this ketoconazole shampoo. This is a prescription, and I have tons of it because I request it a lot. Even though technically you only have to put it on your scalp, I later learned, even though in the instructions that accompany this product, it says to put it on your scalp and in your hair. So when I saw that, I told my dermatologist, I'm like, yeah, I have a lot of hair. I want to need more than, just a little bottle. So I ended up being prescribed 3 of these, every time I go to refill. So now I have tons of it, which, is good. So yeah, this is supposed to combat the itching. Well, it's supposed to kill the Malassezia yeast, which is, the culprit, or one of the culprits behind the itching. I use this when I wash my locks, ketoconazole shampoo. So if you, and this is I think 2%, yeah. So if you go see your dermatologist, you might want to mention this to him or her, I'm sure, because he or she is a dermatologist. They already know and will prescribe something like this to you. But yeah, just be on the lookout, listen for ketoconazole shampoo. In the realm of washing my locks, you can also use this T-gel shampoo. Okay, this is like the tar shampoo. It's a therapeutic shampoo, and you can buy this over the counter. I got this on Amazon, and you can use this on the days when you're not using the ketoconazole shampoo to wash your locks. Okay, usually you'd ideally wash your hair every day with this, but because I have locks, I started washing my hair 3 times a week and then twice a week, and now less, if I'm honest. But on the days that you don't wash your hair with the ketoconazole shampoo, that's when the T-gel, the tar shampoo, comes in. And I will be honest, it has a unique odor, a unique scent, which doesn't stay in your, well, actually, it kind of does linger in your hair for a bit even after you rinse it out. But I'm that weird guy. I actually like the smell of certain things. I like the smell of the wild growth hair oil, or wild hair growth oil. The white bottle with the green lettering. I love the smell of that. And this, I will say it's an acquired scent, but I actually like it. I'm weird like that. Don't judge me. Anyway, so yeah, just alternate between this, which once again you can buy over the counter, and the prescription of the ketoconazole shampoo, 2%. Now, this hasn't happened since the beginning of my flare-up, but you guys will remember, if you were here, that my forehead started to break out, and the skin basically started to lichenified. It started to become really leathery, and I told you guys it felt like I was aging years in a matter of minutes. It was really kind of scary. I'm like, what's happening to me? So what was prescribed for that is this Destinide cream. So yeah, this is also a prescription, and this is 0.5%. Okay, and so you just put it on your forehead, and then you can put whatever normal moisturizer you use on top of that. But with many ointments and stuff, it's not really good for your skin to just use it without a break. So you can go, I forget how many days, maybe 7 days, and then you take a week off. And so on those off weeks, I was prescribed this tacrolimus ointment. Okay, I think it's 0.1%. And so it would basically kind of do the same thing as this, but while I was giving my forehead a break from this, I could use this and it would still kind of stave off what was happening to my forehead. So also, these are a couple of things that you might want to talk to your dermatologist about if he or she does not prescribe them to you. The last thing that I use, which has helped at times and then not so much at others, is this fluocinolone acetonide oil. Believe it or not, people, this is also the same thing that's used for ear infections. And basically, as you can see, it has a dropper, and so you just drop a little bit of the oil wherever it's itching in your scalp. Okay, you don't need to necessarily wash your hair. This is just, say you get an itch, Then you take the dropper out with some of that fluocinolone acetonide oil and drop it right in the area and rub it in, okay? As I said, sometimes it has helped, other times not so much. So yeah, these are the things that I'm currently using for my seborrheic dermatitis. So what I will say is that my regimen has changed quite a bit from the way it used to look. Now I have to do all of these different things that I used to not have to do to try to keep a itchy scalp under control. I will say though that I have not been as strict, meaning I haven't been washing with the ketoconazole shampoo 2 to 3 times a week. I just got kind of tired of it, especially since my scalp was still itchy. And so it's like, well, if my scalp is gonna itch basically the same amount, whether I'm washing 3 times a week or washing every 2 weeks, then yeah, why put in that extra work? Why present more risk to yourself of developing mold and mildew in your locks because you're keeping them wet so often, especially now that it's getting cooler and you know it's gonna be cold before you know it. It's gonna take even longer for my locks to dry. And so yeah, I will say that I'm at a place now where what I'm doing is working for me. Yes, I get some itches. I would say I get, you know, a few itches every day. And I think I've kind of noticed that it happens when I'm thinking intensely about something, you know, whether I'm working or something. And my scalp rarely itches when my locks are down. That's something else that I noticed. When my locks are up in the satin bonnet tam combo, that's usually when I feel like it's itching. And I don't know if it's because my locks are, you know, the frizziness of my locks are irritating my scalp or what, but yeah. So what I'm doing is working for me. I am still hoping that one day my scalp will not itch at all. It'll return back to the way it used to be when, you know, I could apply my vitamin E and rose water mixture directly to my scalp instead of only to my locks now. But like I said, I decided to keep my locks and to see where they took me. And even my dermatologist said that he has had a lot of patients where they just decide that, you know, they can deal with the itch. I will say also though that there is an injection, I forget the name of it, but there's an injection that you can take to combat the itching, you know, when you have seborrheic dermatitis, if all of the other things that I've shown you and even other things aren't working. The reason that I decided against that is because it is an immunosuppressant, and so that means it's going to suppress your immune system. And hey, if you haven't been living under a rock, you know that there's a pandemic right now. And so you want your immune system to be functioning properly. So I'm like, I'm just gonna, you know, deal with the itch. It is a lot better than it was initially, you know, now that I'm on this new regimen. So I'm just gonna rock with it, and hopefully one day, you know, I will be granted a respite. So yeah, this is an update on my seborrheic dermatitis status. I hope that it will be helpful to anyone who watches this, and I am going to go now and wash my hair. If you choose to love, do so unconditionally, because loving with conditions conditions the heart to not really love at all. This is Atreyu Locs, and I will see you next week. Peace.